Most students are okay with the simple rules, but when we start having negative indices and also some fractions that we're going to deal with later, things start to go a little bit wrong. So when you see the negative in the power, all it does is make this number reciprocal with the power. Now the reciprocal means to flip the fraction over. So I want you to think about this actually being x over 1. And all of that is to the power of negative n. Now I'm going to just take away the negative from the power, and the negative flips the fraction like this. But we still have the n, but no longer the negative. Okay, so it's just flip the fraction, and we still have to do the power. So this one, we think about this being x divided by 1, because that's the same as x, to the power of negative 1. The negative flips the fraction, so it becomes 1 over x to the power of 1, which we don't need to write. X to the minus 2 becomes x over 1 to the minus 2. I now flip the fraction over, and this has got to be to the power of 2. So is the 1 actually, but we never really write the 1 to the power of 2. Again, flip the fraction, so it's now y over x, but now we've taken away that negative power. So it's this. Square each part inside, like that. Okay, pause the video and make a note of those rules. We're going to look at the fraction rules next and then do some questions. Okay, so now I've got the fraction in here. Now what the fraction does is it will actually do the square root or the cube root or the quarter root or the fifth root, whatever we need. So what I'm actually doing here, x to the power of 1 over n, is actually x in here. This isn't actually a square root. I'm going to put an n outside. Okay, so a half will give me x and the 2 here. Now that actually is the square root. That you see that more simply on your calculator as a square root. But when we come to x to the power of a third, if we leave it like that, it looks like it's the square root, like this one up here. So we're going to put a little 3 outside to say this is the cube root of x. And here we're combining the negative and the fraction. So let's think about the negative first of all, and we're going to write that as 1 over x to the power of 1/3. So now that negative has gone, but I've flipped my fraction, the reciprocal. And now I'm going to do the cube root of 1, which is 1, and the cube root of x. So I'm going to use that little cube root symbol with the 3 here. Make a note of these, learn these, they're very important, and have a look at the questions over on the next page. I'm going to pause the video, or you can pause the video rather, and then I'll do the explanations afterwards. So I want you to solve each one of these without a calculator, leave them as fractions. Okay, 16 to the power of a half, that's the square root of 16, and that's plus and minus 4. 3 to the power of minus a half means 1 over 3, that's the half dealt with, squared. So that's 1 over 9. I square that and I square that. Okay, what do I do here? Well, I've got a minus, so the first step is let's flip the fraction around. So it becomes 3 over 2, all to the power of 3. So there the minus is gone. 3 cubed is 3 times 3 times 3. And 2 cubed is 2 times 2 times 2. So there we are. We've done that one, quite a complicated one there. Okay, this one here, 27 to the power of 2/3. Well, let's just split this up using a rule that we had earlier. And I'm going to make this 27 to the power of 1/3 in a bracket, and then a 2. Now, if I multiply those two, I get 2/3. But this allows me to do the cube root of 27. I've done 3 cubed here and got 27. So the cube root of 27 is 3. So that's what's inside the bracket. Now I want to square it. So that answer is 9. Nicely solved without a calculator. This one, there's a half there. It's actually a minus a half. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the fraction and now take away that minus sign. And the half means the square root, so it's going to give me 7. And the square root of 36 is 6. So that's about as complicated as we're going to get these negative and fractional indices.